the acting Vice Chancellor, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. The principal officers, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, here present. The Dean, Faculty of Education, University of Nigeria. Other deans and directors here present. Eminent professors, my colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. I bring you greetings from this side of the world, this beautiful Wednesday morning. Greetings. I thank God for the prayer already said, and I also thank God for a beautiful day that He's given us and the opportunity to be part of this wonderful gathering. In addition, I want to extend my gratitude to the organizers of this conference who found me worthy to present this keynote speech. Thank you, Chairperson of the local organizing committee. Thank you, Board Secretary. Thank you, my Dean. Having said this, let's get into the paper itself and reading time. We'll start with the abstract, but before then, the title of the paper that we're here presenting derives from the theme of the conference. And the title is this: Bridging Gaps in Nigerian Education System through Cutting-Edge Technology and Innovation in a Changing Society. The abstract. The key message of this paper is that there exist gaps in Nigerian education system requiring bridging through cutting-edge technology and innovation. The paper traces the evolution of the Nigerian education system from 1960 to date, ending with the premise that while progress has been made, the education system is not yet where it ought to be in the 21st century. The paper also compares Nigerian education system at the moment with current global education standard, concluding that the global trend towards inclusive education, which accommodates diverse learning needs, remains inadequately addressed in Nigeria. Furthermore, the paper pinpoints gaps in Nigerian education system requiring cutting-edge technology and innovation intervention. It also presents the relevant technology and innovation for 21st century education. Finally, the paper presents recommendations for bridging identified gaps in Nigerian education system through cutting-edge technology and innovation. We have about 24 slides to handle in the course of this presentation, out of which 14 actually focus on the content of the paper. The rest are either opportunities for questions provided in a slide and references of the cited papers well documented. Now we start with the first slide. The first slide deals with tracing the evolution of the Nigerian education system since our independence till date. Of a truth, Nigerian education system has undergone several reforms from 1960 till date. The country has come up with an education policy as far back as 1971, which has undergone up to 2 or 3 revisions. But sadly, at the end of the day, much as we've made some progress, the conclusion is that we still have a long way to go in terms of meeting the global standard as far as education is concerned. Apart from the fact that we still grapple with inadequate funding, poor infrastructure, lack of well-trained teachers, policy somersaults, inability to enthrone sustainable system over the years, as well as what I call the job market education disconnect. We still have a long way to go. However, there is hope. We can get it right. How do we do that? We have to do this by, first of all, looking at what gaps we have to fill in order to get to where we're going. And when we are able to do that, then we come back to now address the gaps. And I believe that by so doing, we will make the needed difference. The next slide. Let us compare the Nigerian current education system with current global education standard. Globally, education systems are increasingly focusing on skill development, critical thinking, and creativity. Now let's ask ourselves, is this where we are at the moment? Is this where we are when we talk of education in Nigeria at the moment? The truth is that our education system from the primary to secondary up to the tertiary level still remains examination focused, encouraging rote learning, studying for the purpose of passing examination, not studying for the purpose of transferring the skills into productivity. So sad. Again, Nigerian system remains predominantly examination oriented, just like we've said, and that is it. A country like Finland and another like Singapore emphasize holistic education, which integrates technology and innovation into teaching methods. Other countries of the world also do so. By that, they find a connect between what they do in school and the world of work. But at the moment, we go to school in Nigeria, and by the time we come out, we now face the challenge of being employable, because most of the courses we do, or most of the mode of education we have in the country, are completely disconnected from the real work life that we are expected to confront at the end of our schooling, leading to a situation where you have people that are educated but not employable. You have people that have actually gone to school, have their certificates, but at the end of the day, they can't fit into 21st century job market, both in the country and outside the country. Little wonder why many of us, when they travel, find themselves needing to re-educate, retrain in order to fit into the modern job system. So sad, and something has to be done about this. Furthermore, like I've already said, Nigeria's traditional rote learning approaches is a big problem. We should find a means of making learning relevant rather than making learning examination focused. At the moment also, the global trend towards inclusive education, which accommodates diverse learning needs, remains inadequately addressed in Nigeria. And that is true. Again, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 4, emphasizes quality education for all. Yet here in Nigeria, we still struggle to provide adequate access to educational resources, particularly in the rural areas, meaning that we are yet to key into the process of achieving this SDG goal. Bridging this gap requires a concerted effort to align Nigeria's education system with global standards through innovative practices and policies. And not until we do that, even when we come back here, years to come, we'll still talk of these gaps. Now, the next slide. Let's look at gaps in Nigerian education system requiring cutting-edge technology and innovation intervention. Let's start with the primary education system. At the primary education level in Nigeria, we still have the problem of lack of qualified teachers and inadequate teaching materials. And of course, the whole field still centers around studying for the purpose of a passing examination, not studying for the purpose of being productive within the society. If you look at such countries as Japan, China, and others, maybe some of us see some of these things over the internet, you will see that the kids in school get from day one hands-on involvement in technology, things that will move the country forward, even as kids they are. So that as they grow with this into the secondary and then into the tertiary education system, it becomes their second nature. Why can't we do this? Who has done this to us? Like a famous politician will say, are we cost or are we the cause? The answer is with us. Now let's look at the secondary education. At the secondary education level, we still have about the same problem that we already have in the primary education level. We still have this problem of lack of resources, not being digitalized enough, and not leading the learners into the future through current technology and innovative instruction. Our teaching and learning still remain the traditional ones that we all had many years ago. Nothing has changed except the national policy on education. Let's get to the tertiary level. Are we faring better? The answer is no. Permit me to observe that if I were to be the Minister of Education tomorrow, I'm sorry, but that is true. There are quite a number of rejigging I have to do with the Nigerian education system. The curriculum as is presently, even with these so-called recent revisions from the National Universities Commission, still has a lot of gaps yet to be filled. We need to make the curriculum dynamic and in sync with the current realities, and then find a direct connect between what we do in schools, what we do in our laboratories, and the world of work. Without sounding vulgar, let me give you an example. I don't know how many mechanical engineers you know in Nigeria who can fix their own cars when they develop problem. I go to the classroom, I learn about mechanical engineering, I come out, my car has an issue, I take it to a roadside illiterate who has just been in a workshop and learned mechanic. Can't you see the disconnect? That's not the way it should be. I don't mean that every mechanical engineer, for instance, should, put on a garb and then become a mechanic. No, but we should be able to put into practice that which we say we have learned in the classroom. A number of years ago, I remember a friend of mine who came back for a master's program here in the University of Nigeria. And when I saw him, I said, oh man, that's great. You are back here. Wow. So soon. So why did you come for the master's? He looked at me and said, Master, and that's what he used to call me. He said, Master, I have just come to learn for the first time, to see if I can fit into the world of work. I say, what do you mean by that? He said, yes, because after youth service, I was able to get a job in so and so place. But guess what? I knew next to nothing about the subject I read. I couldn't relate what I what I studied in the classroom with what I was asked to do. And before I knew it, it became clear to me that it would be better to pull out of myself than allow the organization to sack me for incompetence. So I decided to pull out and then come back here to see if by doing my postgraduate training, I can improve. Well, I didn't follow up with him later to know what happened, but I doubt if any improvement could have been done. I'm not being pessimistic, but the truth remains that coming back to do the postgraduate program is still within the same education system that doesn't see the need to link what you learn in the classroom with what you actually you're going to do there in the field of work. That is a gap. And this gap needs to be filled. Now let's turn to our online education. I know that at the moment, a couple of universities have been given approval to run online learning, teaching and learning in the country. But where are we on this? Are we making progress? Are we making the expected progress, especially in the 21st century? The answer remains capital no. And what is the reason? Because we don't have the needed infrastructure to drive the process. Is it with our epileptic power supply or with our epileptic internet facility and infrastructure that we are going to mount a robust online education? The answer is no. But hope is not lost. We can still get it right. We can still fix the situation. It takes determination. It takes will. It takes our willingness to get it right, and I believe we will. However, let me add that leadership, I repeat, leadership is very essential, and we'll come to that. Because without the necessary leadership, it will remain a mirage, struggling to get to the level that the world is at the moment in terms of education system. But let's look at other gaps that we really need to fill. Let's look at equity and inclusion. I want to submit that despite policies aimed at promoting inclusivity, disparities in access to quality education still persist in Nigeria. In particular, for the marginalized groups, including girls and children with disabilities. This is not coming from me. UNICEF 2021 emphasized this, and that is true. Now let's look at technological innovation in teaching and learning. Limited access to modern teaching tools and inadequate teacher training in technology use result in ineffective learning environments. That's a big gap. We have our departments of educational technology in most of our faculties of education across the country. And we have so many other things we try to do here in UNN. I know we have Kudima, we have so many other centers that try to boost our technological prowess vis-a-vis teaching and learning. But of a truth, we still remain far behind. We still have a long way to go. We still have gaps to fill. Furthermore, let's look at education policy and leadership. Here lies greater part of the problem we have in this country. We have weak governance structures and lack of coherent policies, which undermine effective implementation of educational reforms. Ogoyemi 2021 indicated this, and I agree with this in its entirety. We've had a lot of policy somersaults. We have a lot of changes that lead to nowhere. Only noisy changes, only things that sometimes we do out of emotion without articulating the way forward, without asking ourselves, how did other countries get to where they are today? The Igbo people will say that A blacksmith that doesn't know how to make a metal gun should look at the tail of a kite. Why are we not looking at the tail of a kite by imitating what others are doing across the globe? I repeat, are we cursed or are we the curse? We move on further. Now we ask ourselves, what are the relevant technology and innovation for 21st century education that we can leverage? There are many of them. Let's start with e-learning. E-learning platforms, like we already know, provide flexible learning opportunities and access to a wide range of resources, enhancing educational reach. How far have we fared when it comes to e-learning? Where are we? We have the Open University. I must give them kudos. They are doing well. But can't we multiply this? Can't we have more access to e-learning? Can't we encourage more of the e-learning in the classroom? I remember the other day I was discussing with a graduate student of this university who had opportunity of coming for another program outside the country. And I was asking him what has become of the program he was running before leaving the country. And he told me why he had made his proposal. He had also collected his data and analyzed them. But the problem is that he wouldn't know how to present the faculty defense and then subsequently go on to do the final defense. And I was like, maybe because I've not been around for some time, I was like, oh, what's the issue there? Can't that be done online? And he quickly reminded me that that would be novel, that nobody has done it before. And there's no such arrangement for him. It's not sad. It's not sad that in the 21st century Nigeria, we are almost operating like the banks in the 1970s and 1980s, where you had to go to the branch of the bank where you have your account before you'll be able to access your money or do any form of transaction. It's akin to asking me to go back to my department because I'm not on ground in order to be able to defend my thesis. Oh, we should have gone beyond this by now, for crying out loud. We should have gone beyond this by now. Well, this is a food for thought. It's one of the gaps that we need to fill. Again, we talk of mobile learning. With increasing prevalence of smartphones, mobile learning enables students to access educational materials anytime and anywhere. How far are we on this? Another innovative approach and a current technology that we can leverage is artificial intelligence, the AI. Artificial intelligence can personalize learning experiences by adapting content to meet the individual student needs, thereby improving engagement and outcomes. How far are we leveraging this? Another is virtual reality. Virtual reality technologies can create immense learning environment, particularly beneficial in fields such as medicine and engineering. Again, that's a technology that our education system needs to embrace. How far have we gone on this? The answer is not very far. Finally, we talk of collaboration tools such as the Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams. These facilitate group work and communication, essential for developing teamwork skills. I would say that maybe for our meetings and other things, sometimes we try Zoom, we try a little of the Microsoft Teams, but to what extent are we putting this into use in teaching and learning, especially at tertiary level and even at secondary school level? Because they're not rocket science. Across the globe, that's the trend. Outside Nigeria, that's the trend. That's the trend. Well, let's not go crying about this. Instead, let's look at possibilities of achieving uh, some solution to the problem. So how do we bridge these gaps that we've identified? I call it bridging identified gaps in the Nigerian education system through cutting-edge technology and innovation. How do we do this? First, we have to address infrastructural development. Infrastructure development. We have to invest in digital infrastructure, which will facilitate access to e-learning and other educational technologies across the country, especially in the rural areas. When we are able to do this, it will mark our departure point from where we are at the moment towards a glorious future for our Nigerian education system. Again, teacher training. Can we do better in our teacher training? I think we can by implementing comprehensive training programs focused on integrating technology into teaching. This will enhance educators' effectiveness. How many children we are turning out today can effectively put into use most of these innovative technologies that I've mentioned that can enhance teaching and learning? The answer is not many, because you can't give what you don't have, what you are not exposed to. How will you then know about it, and how will you now implement it in handling others that other you are watched as a teacher? Again, we talk about policy. Another way of bridging this gap is through policy reform. We have to revise our educational policies to prioritize inclusivity, technology integration, and alignment with labor market needs. Alignment with labor market needs. That's the language. I can't say this enough, and there's no how I can overemphasize this. There still remains a big disconnect between the job market and what we learn in the classroom. And as a matter of fact, without sounding vulgar, most of the courses offered in the university system today in Nigeria, unfortunately, do not in any way add value to our productivity as a country. They don't add value to our ability to move forward and then be where others are in terms of fitting into 21st century job market. If I were to suggest, most of the courses we run should be regarded henceforth as minors, so that when you are doing a course that has a job market focus, then you can take these other beautiful courses, beautiful I call them, as minors, because you want to enrich your repertoire of knowledge. Good, I don't worry with that, that's good. But let them be your minor courses. So you have the major, which will launch you into 21st century job market, not only in Nigeria, but internationally. Some of us who have had the opportunity of leaving the country found ourselves shortchanged in a way, because at the beginning we discovered that whatever we thought we had in Nigeria still falls short of the global expectation, the international expectation, the international best practices. So some of us are now forced to go and retrain. So sad. Like people like me in their 60s, we go back and retrain in order to fit into the job market outside the country. That's not it should be. We should find a system of training people so that they can fit in anywhere, anytime into the global trend as far as the world of work is concerned. Again, we can look at partnerships. Collaborating with tech companies and NGOs can foster innovation and provide resources necessary for implementing new educational technologies. When we get more involved in what we call town and gown. When we marry the institutions of higher learning with the industries, when there's such collaboration, when there's such synergy, first, there'll be more funds. Two, we'll get to know more what the industries need, what are their needs, and then we'll be able to channel our training towards that angle so that while we are satisfying the needs of the world of work, the world of work also will be satisfying our need of funding. And it will be a win-win. But at the moment, what do we have? This is not obtaining. So this is one of the solutions that we'll have to explore. Finally, we talk of community engagement. Involving communities in decision-making process ensures that educational interventions are contextually relevant and sustainable. When we involve the people that we hope to serve with our education in all we do, starting from the curriculum development down to its implementation and evaluation, then we'll be able to serve better the communities. We'll be able to be on the same page with the Nigerian public and the international community. We'll be able to really understand what is it that we are being trained to offer. And then we'll be sure that we are trained exactly for that, that we're training people exactly for that. So that by the time we are leaving school, we'll be ready to hit the road running. We'll be ready to meet all the challenges that should be before us in terms of the world of work, and then be able to be productive as expected. In conclusion, I want to conclude by saying the Nigerian education system faces numerous challenges that hinder its ability to meet the demands of the 21st century, and that is true. Two, by embracing cutting-edge technology and innovative practices, Nigeria has a potential to bridge existing gaps and enhance educational quality. And finally, addressing issues of equity, technological integration, policy coherence, and employability will require concerted efforts from government, educators, and communities. If we're able to get this, I guess we will have started the process of bridging the gaps and then hoping to catch up with the rest of the world. Thank you for you've been awesome. Thank you for giving me attention.